The 29 islands of Komodo National Park rise from the sea like the fossilized vertebrae of some ancient leviathan. This stark, volcanic landscape is more than just a dramatic backdrop. It is a frontier. We are standing on the Wallace Line, an invisible yet profound biogeographical boundary first identified in the 19th century, which separates the ecosystems of Asia from those of Australasia. To the west, the faunal influences are largely Asian. But here, the arid, savanna-like hills, scorched by a relentless sun for 8 months of the year, feel distinctly Australian. It's a geological and evolutionary crossroads, a place where life was forced to adapt in isolation over millennia. This very isolation forged the park's most famous resident, the Komodo dragon, a true relic from a time when megafauna ruled the earth. To walk these islands is not merely to visit a park, but to step across a threshold into a living laboratory, a testament to the immense and patient power of deep time. To approach Porto Venere from the sea is to understand its ancient, almost mythical appeal. The formidable cliffs that guard the Bochi, the strait leading into the Gulf of Poets, are not uniform limestone, but are in fact laced with a rare and precious black marble known as Portoro. For centuries, this deep black stone, streaked with delicate veins of gold, was quarried directly from the nearby island of Palmaria. This geological treasure is not merely a backdrop. It is the very fabric of the town's most iconic structure. The alternating bands of the 12th century Church of San Pietro, perched defiantly on the promontory, are a testament to this unique heritage, a design choice born of the very ground it stands upon. It reveals a landscape so inherently beautiful that early inhabitants saw not just a strategic harbor, but a gateway, a port of Venus, worthy of a goddess. Nestled in the shadow of two dormant volcanoes, Bogor earns its title as the Rain City, not by chance, but by the very design of the Earth itself. The constant orographic lift created by Mount Gide and Mount Salak generates a microclimate of near-perpetual precipitation, a phenomenon that drew the Dutch away from the oppressive heat of coastal Batavia in the 18th century. It was here, in 1745, that Governor-General von Imhoff established a serene country retreat, which would ultimately blossom into the world-renowned Botanical Gardens, a living library of tropical flora. Today, that legacy endures in a city where elegant colonial architecture seems to be in a constant, gentle struggle with the relentless green of the tropics. Every glistening leaf and moss-covered stone is a testament to a history founded not on conquest alone, but on a search for respite, a human ambition profoundly shaped and still sustained by the simple, inescapable rhythm of the rain. To stand here is to witness a city that seems to defy gravity itself. Cuenca, perched precariously between the sheer gorges carved by the Júcar and Huecar rivers, presents a masterclass in human adaptation. Its famed casas colgadas, or hanging houses, are not mere architectural follies. They are a direct response to the constraints of a medieval fortress town. With no room to expand outward on this narrow limestone spur, 15th century builders had to innovate, extending their homes vertically and then daringly over the abyss. You begin to understand that the city isn't simply built upon the landscape, but is woven directly into it, the stone of its foundations becoming one with the cliff face. It's a powerful, tangible record of ingenuity, a silent, centuries-long dialogue between human ambition and the unyielding forces of geology. Fuerteventura is the geological elder of the Canaries, a land that has traded the fiery spectacle of its youth for a more profound and patient beauty. It surfaced from the Atlantic floor some 22 million years ago, a volcanic giant whose heart has long since quieted. Today, the island is shaped not by magma, but by a far more subtle and relentless force: erosion. For countless millennia, the trade winds, acting as a constant conveyor of sand from the nearby African continent, have worked like a tireless artisan. They have meticulously smoothed sharp volcanic peaks into the rounded, weathered shoulders that now define the skyline, carving out the vast, silent plains in between. This is the reason for the island's unique sense of scale and stillness. It is a landscape of subtraction, not addition, a place worn smooth by the immense, quiet passage of time. To stand here is to feel the deep, unhurried rhythm of a world that doesn't shout for attention, but simply is. What confronts the eye in Zhangjiajie is not a mountain range in the conventional sense, but a forest of stone. Over 3,000 slender quartz sandstone pillars, some reaching heights of over 200 meters, stand in a staggering assembly. These are not volcanic plugs or eroded monoliths, but the remnants of an ancient seafloor, uplifted and then meticulously sculpted over millions of years. The primary artist here is ice. The relentless freeze-thaw cycle of the wet winters has acted as a patient chisel, fracturing the rock along vertical joints to carve out this otherworldly landscape. When the seasonal mists roll through the valleys, the pillars appear to detach from the earth, becoming the floating islands that have inspired Chinese landscape painters for centuries. It's a profound lesson in geomorphology, demonstrating how the most delicate forces, applied over immense timescales, can create structures of impossible grandeur. At the easternmost edge of Java, where the island reaches for Bali, across a narrow strait, lies Banyuwangi, a land shaped by immense volcanic power. Its most dramatic secret is revealed only after dark, within the Aegean caldera. What appears to be electric blue lava is in fact something more elemental. Immense quantities of sulfuric gas, emerging from fumaroles at temperatures exceeding 600 degrees Celsius and igniting upon contact with the air. This ethereal, otherworldly glow cascades down the rock face, illuminating the figures of miners who have harvested the bright yellow sulfur here for generations. They work against the backdrop of the world's largest highly acidic crater lake, a serene, turquoise expanse whose placid surface belies the potent chemical forces churning beneath. Here, in this crucible of creation, one witnesses a profound intersection of geology and human endurance, a place where the very building blocks of the earth are both a breathtaking spectacle and a source of arduous livelihood. Just a short boat ride from Bali's gentle shores lies an island forged by a different spirit. For centuries, Nusa Penida was the designated place of exile for the Klungkung Kingdom, a rugged natural prison for undesirables and practitioners of dark arts. This formidable history seems etched into the very fabric of the land, a foundation of porous limestone carved by millennia of relentless ocean currents into the colossal cliffs and dramatic sea arches that define its coastline. This was the domain of Ratu Gede Mekaling, a powerful and feared deity, cementing the island's reputation as a source of potent, untamed energy. It wasn't merely a place of punishment, it was a realm where the raw power of nature and spirit were inseparable. To stand here is to understand that the island's staggering beauty is not a gentle one. It is a beauty with an edge, a deep and resonant history that you can feel in the powerful surge of the tide and hear in the wind that sweeps across its arid plateaus. Nusa Lembongan's serene turquoise waters conceal a story of profound economic transformation, a shift from the seafloor to the shoreline. For decades, this island was one of the world's primary sources of carrageenan, a gelling agent derived from meticulously cultivated seaweed. Entire families would tend to their underwater plots, their lives governed by the lunar cycle and the tides, harvesting thousands of tons annually for global markets. You can still see the ghost of this industry in the shallow lagoons, the faint grid lines of former farms, and the distinctive, flat-bottomed boats now repurposed for tourist excursions. This underwater agriculture, which peaked in the 1990s, created a unique subaquatic landscape, a quiet and ordered world just beneath the surface. Now, as tourism offers a more lucrative, if less predictable, livelihood, the island exists in a delicate equilibrium. It's a living testament to how a community adapts, balancing the fading rhythms of an ancient marine trade with the insistent demands of the modern traveler, a transition written on the water itself. The color of Lake Tekapo is a phenomenon that stops you in your tracks, a shade of opaque turquoise so vibrant it seems to belong to another world. Yet its origin is entirely of this one, a story that begins high in the Southern Alps. For thousands of years, the slow, immense grind of glaciers has pulverized the mountain rock into a fine, silt-like powder. This rock flour, as geologists call it, is carried by meltwater and remains suspended in the lake. These microscopic particles, weighing next to nothing, catch the sunlight, absorbing every other wavelength, but reflecting this brilliant spectral blue. What you are seeing, then, is not the color of the water itself, but the refracted light of a mountain ground down and dissolved into a liquid state. It serves as a profound visual measure of geological time, a powerful, slow-motion erosion that continues to paint the landscape before our very eyes. Scattered across the highlands of Fujian, these colossal earthen structures are not castles or temples, but homes. They are the legacy of the Hakka people, guest families, who migrated south from the war-torn Central Plains starting in the 12th century, and built these fortress-like dwellings as a necessity for survival. The design is a masterclass in communal defense. Walls up to 6 feet thick are constructed from rammed earth, with no windows on the lower levels, and a single fortified gateway serving as the only entrance. Within this formidable shell, a single Tulu could house an entire clan, sometimes as many as 800 people, creating a self-sufficient microcosm. To approach one is to feel its imposing silence, yet to cross the threshold is to discover a vibrant, open-air world of shared wells, ancestral halls, and balconies teeming with life. They stand as a profound architectural solution to a deeply human problem: how a community can turn inward to protect itself, yet flourish in the process. The name Fairy Meadows was not born from ancient local legend, but was bestowed in the 1930s by German climbers awestruck by this alpine sanctuary. It's a name that captures the profound serenity of the place, yet belies the sheer force that surrounds it. Looming directly above is Nanga Parbat, the world's 9th highest peak, an 8,126-meter titan of rock and ice. Known grimly to mountaineers as the Killer Mountain for its treacherous ascents, its presence is a constant, humbling reminder of nature's indifference. Paradoxically, the meadow owes its existence to this giant. It is a vast avalanche plain, scoured clean of forests by the mountain's seasonal power. This very process allows a fragile carpet of wildflowers to flourish, fed by glacial streams. To be here is to witness a delicate equilibrium, a vibrant expanse of life thriving not in spite of the danger, but because of it. The name Altai, from the Turkic Altan Tau, translates to the Golden Mountains, a fitting title for this remote crossroads where the borders of 4 nations, Russia, China, Mongolia, and Kazakhstan, converge. But this convergence is more than political. It's a profound geological and ecological reality. Here, the dark Siberian taiga bleeds into the vast, sun-bleached steppes of Central Asia, while alpine tundra clings to peaks that soar over 4,000 meters. This unique mosaic of ecosystems has made the Altai a crucible of life and a sanctuary for ancient cultures for millennia. The permafrost, a silent guardian, has preserved the secrets of Scythian nomads, holding their world in a frozen, timeless embrace. To stand here is to understand that the lines we draw on maps are fleeting whispers against the enduring story of the land itself, a story written in ice, stone, and gold. They call this place the Golden Heart of Alaska, a title that echoes deeper than mere geography. The city's pulse began not with a grand plan, but with the whim of a river in 1902, when a steamboat carrying a trader named E.T. Barnett ran aground on the silty banks of the Chena. It was a moment of pure chance, an inconvenient grounding that coincided with a prospector's discovery of gold in the nearby hills. This serendipity founded a settlement on a foundation of permafrost in a subarctic landscape of extremes. To truly understand Fairbanks is to grasp this duality, a history built on a feverish hunger for wealth, and a present-day reality defined by the quiet endurance needed to thrive when temperatures can swing over 150 degrees. The real treasure here isn't the gold that was pulled from the earth, but the unyielding human spirit that chose to call this formidable wilderness home. What first strikes you about Belitung is not the turquoise water or the fine sand, but the stone. These colossal granite formations, resting on the shorelines like sleeping leviathans, are not the volcanic debris so common throughout the Indonesian archipelago. They are something far older, the exposed crowns of a vast subterranean batholith that crystallized deep within the Earth's crust over 200 million years ago. As part of the Great Southeast Asian Tin Belt, this ancient granite was slowly unveiled as softer rock eroded away over countless millennia. The patient work of wind and sea has since sculpted these megaliths into their smooth, almost organic forms. To stand in their silent company is to feel the immense, slow-breathing patience of deep time, a profound reminder that this tranquil paradise was forged. Long before the Medicis held court in Florence, Arezzo was a vital Etruscan capital, one of the original 12 cities of their powerful federation. Yet its most enduring legacy is not etched in stone, but written on a musical staff. It was here, around the year 1025 that a Benedictine monk, Guido of Arezzo, revolutionized how humans record sound, inventing the system of notation that evolved into the language of music we know today. The very concept of do-re-mi was born on these quiet sloping streets. Standing in the uniquely tilted Piazza Grandi, a space masterfully defined by yet another local genius, Giorgio Vasari, you can almost feel that intellectual inheritance. Arezzo doesn't boast with the grandeur of its Tuscan rivals. It offers a more profound, almost scholarly, revelation. This is a city that teaches us that the most powerful innovations are often the quietest. The silent ink on a page that gives voice to a symphony, shaping the soundtrack of Western civilization for 1,000 years. Scarcely 250 years ago, at a time when the United States was just being born, this entire 65-mile-long bay did not exist. It lay buried beneath a single, colossal river of ice, in places over 4,000 feet thick. As that unimaginable weight has vanished, the land itself has begun to breathe a slow, monumental sigh of relief. Geologists call this phenomenon isostatic rebound. The compressed crust of the Earth, freed from its burden, is springing back at an astonishing rate of more than 1 inch per year. This upward surge is creating new land before our very eyes, turning former tidal zones into lush, young forests of alder and spruce that cling to newly exposed rock. What you are witnessing is not simply a glacier in retreat, but the very birth of a new coastline. Glacier Bay is a place that defies our sense of permanence, a living laboratory where geological time is so compressed we can witness it unfold within a single human lifetime. At first glance, Lake Wakatipu appears as a serene, colossal ribbon of blue, carved into the land in its distinct lightning bolt shape. But this immense body of water is in a state of constant rhythmic motion. Approximately every 27 minutes, its surface rises and falls by as much as 20 centimeters, a scientifically explained seiche driven by the lake's unique form and shifting atmospheric pressure. Ancient Maori legend, however, offers a more profound explanation. This is the eternal heartbeat of the slumbering giant, Matau, whose immense body was seared into the earth, creating the very basin we see today. This subtle, aquatic pulse is an almost imperceptible breath, a quiet reminder that even the most monumental landscapes are not static sculptures. It is a testament to the unseen forces that continually shape this environment, a deep rhythm that underpins the dramatic theater of the surrounding peaks. To stand on its shore is to witness more than just water. It is to feel the slow, steady pulse of a living geography, where science and myth converge in the deep, cold currents. Approaching Islamabad's Faisal Mosque, one is first struck by what isn't there: the familiar, comforting curve of a central dome. Instead, a dramatic eight-sided concrete shell rises towards the sky, a deliberate break from centuries of Islamic architectural tradition. The design was the vision of Turkish architect Vedat Dalokay, selected from 17 international entries in a competition held in 1969. He found his inspiration not in the grand mosques of the past, but in the simple, elemental form of a desert Bedouin's tent, a symbolic return to the roots of the faith. Clad in pristine white marble and flanked by four slender, pencil-like minarets, the structure creates a stunning dialogue with the rolling Margalla Hills that form its backdrop. It's a space capable of holding over 100,000 worshippers, a testament not only to monumental scale, but to the idea that reverence can be found in bold, contemporary forms, anchoring a modern capital to a timeless spiritual landscape. Long before the first Spanish sails broke the horizon, Galdar served as the royal court for the island's indigenous kings. Its most profound secret, the Cueva Pintada, was rediscovered by a local farmer in the mid-19th century, revealing a cryptic lexicon of geometric motifs painted over 500 years ago. These are not mere decorations. Scholars now believe this complex tapestry of triangles and circles may represent a sophisticated chronicle of seasons and rituals, a silent testament to a lost cosmology. Yet, the true significance of Galdar unfolds not just within the climate-controlled confines of this cave, but in the streets above. The very foundations of the modern town rest upon the sprawling settlement of the Guanartemis, the island's ancient rulers. To walk here is to feel the subtle resonance of their kingdom, a powerful reminder that history is not merely a collection of artifacts, but a landscape with a deep and enduring memory.
The serene surface of Lake Wanaka belies a creation of unimaginable violence. This landscape wasn't always one of tranquil water. It was once the domain of a colossal glacier, a river of ice over 1,000 meters thick, grinding relentlessly towards the sea. For millennia, its immense weight scoured the bedrock, carving a trough so profound that the lake floor today sits more than 50 meters below sea level. The mountains that frame this view, like the formidable ramparts of Mount Aspiring National Park, were not simply pushed aside, but sculpted by this unstoppable force, their classic U-shaped valleys, the enduring signature of the glacier's passage. Standing here, you realize that the profound stillness is not an absence of power, but its legacy, a quiet testament to an age of ice that shaped a continent and left behind this perfect, breathtaking calm.
Polignano a Mare presents a breathtaking paradox. A town of stark white buildings clinging to the edge of a sheer limestone cliff, seemingly in defiance of gravity. But this dramatic stage was not a matter of chance. It was sculpted by water. The cliff itself is composed of karst limestone, a porous rock that, over millennia, has been hollowed out by the Adriatic's relentless advance, creating a hidden world of sea caves beneath the town's foundations. This geological reality has profoundly shaped life here. The settlement didn't simply build upon the rock. It grew into its very fabric, with homes and palazzi anchored into a labyrinth of these natural grotta. For centuries, the caves served as shelters and storerooms, and today, one of the most famous, the Grotta Palazzesi, continues a tradition of hosting banquets within its walls that dates back to the 1700s. It's a powerful testament to human ingenuity, a community that doesn't just command a view of the sea, but exists in a constant, intimate dialogue with the very geology that gave it form. From the heat haze of the Kolistan Desert, Darawar Fort emerges not as a ruin, but as a declaration. Its 40 colossal, perfectly uniform bastions, some rising over 30 meters, form a formidable square against the horizon. Though most associated with the Nawabs of Bahawalpur, its origins trace back to the 9th century and a Hindu Rajput ruler, strategically placed to command ancient trade routes and the now vanished Hakra River. This is the key to its existence. It wasn't built in spite of the desert, but because of a vital waterway that is now only a ghost in the sand. Each bastion, a near-perfect twin of its neighbor, speaks to a desire for absolute order and dominance in a landscape defined by the elemental chaos of wind and sun. Standing before its immense walls, you sense it was more than a defense. It was the very heart of a desert kingdom, a permanent anchor in a sea of shifting dunes, and a silent chronicle of the empires that have long since turned to dust. While Bali shimmers just across the strait, a mere 35 kilometers away, arriving in Lombok feels like crossing an invisible yet profound threshold into another realm. This is the edge of the Wallace Line, a deep water trench so significant it was first charted by the great naturalist Alfred Russel Wallace in the mid-19th century. This submarine chasm, plunging hundreds of meters deep, served as an impassable barrier for terrestrial life, even when ice ages lowered sea levels and connected other islands with land bridges. The consequences are written into the very fabric of the ecosystem. Here, the familiar fauna of Asia begins to recede, replaced by the vanguards of Australasia. The shift is subtle at first, then absolute. The call of a sulfur-crested cockatoo, where a woodpecker might have been, the unique honey eaters found nowhere to the west. Standing on these shores, you realize you're not just looking at a different island, but at the geological seam between two ancient worlds, a place where the grand story of life itself took a truly divergent path.